But when I was growing up, I mean, I didn't see a computer until I was in Marywood University. That's like how
Wow.
it was crazy. Because I mean, not only I'm from Puerto Rico, but I'm from the middle of the island. So I'm from the mountains in Puerto Rico. So it was a cultural shock when I came here. And
Hey everybody, welcome back to Private Club Radio, your industry source for news, media, trends, updates, and amazing conversations in the world of private clubs. That's country clubs, city clubs, yacht clubs, golf clubs, all the clubs. I'm your host, Denny Corby. Thanks for being here. In this episode, I get to chat with a club professional right from my own backyard here in Clark Summit, Scranton, Pennsylvania. I'm in Clark Summit. It's right outside Scranton, but most people know Scranton. But I chat with Nardimar Koch from Glen Oak Country Club. Now, not Glen Oak, that's a concert golf partner. Shout out, one of our show partners. They have a Glen Oak Country Club out in Iowa, but this is Glen Oak Country Club in Clark Summit, Pennsylvania. It's about, 2 miles from my house. So we did it in person, which made it even so much more enjoyable for me. I get a lot more energy and enthusiasm from being, with that person, having that back and forth. But Nardi is what an amazing story, coming from literally the mountains of Puerto Rico and never really using technology, to going to school here in Northeastern Pennsylvania, in Scranton, Pennsylvania at Marywood, to getting into finance, to being the controller of Glenmaura Country Club, which is a great club here in the area, to then also going to run the Ohoopee Match Club, which I did not know about until she told me about. Really cool, fascinating place, to now being back home in Northeast PA, running Glen Oaks. In this episode, you really learn about the importance of resilience, thick skin, and embracing your heritage, embracing yourself, your people, your culture, no matter who you are, where you came from. So I love chatting with her. I know you guys are going to love the episode as well. So Private Club Radio, please listen and enjoy.
Nope. So when did you start in finance?
So I started my university in Puerto Rico, but Marywood University gave me a scholarship.
Gotcha.
So I finished my, and the whole idea was like, come to United States, become bilingual, go back home, and get a great job. Because then, although Puerto Rico is part of the United States, and we have the two languages are official, you really don't learn English, just the he, she, it of it. And then when I was here, I was like liberal arts. I just didn't even know what I was gonna do. So then I saw my first accounting class was Dr. Jones Smithana, and she reminded me of Judge Judy, but an accountant. And as soon as I took the class, and she was just as tough, just as beautiful, and just as scary. And I was like,
what a combo.
Yes. And the only thing that I could think of was like, I want to be her. And the next day, I just declare, I just want to be accounting. So I did my first internship with Gershel Hawk in the area.
Yeah.
And then Dr. Smithana, thankfully, became my mentor. And there was this other internship that was going to happen, and it was in a accounting firm, in a local accounting firm. And I was like, Dr. Smithana, I already did my internship. And she said, no, you don't understand. If you survive here, you're going to survive anywhere. So my accounting internship was a Robert Rossi company, which is funny because two of the main partners are now my members. And I always tell them, if I cried probably the first straight month, because then I did my internship, I finished my internship, and before I graduated, they offered me a job. So then, hence, I stayed in the United States. But they were so stinking tough. I cried and cried. But again, I tell everybody, if I would have not worked for them, I would have not been able to hold any of the jobs that I have had. I learned that much from them.
Wow. Funny you brought up, can you talk about your mentor a little bit more?
Well, I have had actually few. So when I was at Robert Rossi, and obviously I started in accounting and finance. So the great thing there was that it was not like a big four, that when you go to work, then if you get in taxation, it's only taxation, or if you get in audit, it's only audits. We had at that point 8 partners, and each and every one of them was an expert in something. So if I had a question of 401k, I'll go about this one. If I had a question about an audit, I'll go to another one, so forth and so on. So eventually, even though I was able to do not only what, like the audits and financial planning and taxes, then I kind of honed into small businesses, which is businesses underneath $10 million.
Yeah.
So again, I had, especially the 5 main partners, they were amazing, and I learned a lot from them. I had the privilege, I guess. I did the Valley View School District audit. I did the City of Scranton audit. So that's when you get all mucky. Then I did a few of the businesses and banks all the way up to Palmerton, and so my area was quite big. Then when I decided to transition, and it was just because I had a baby at that time, and my son, then he was 4 years old. And work in public accounting, you work 80 hours a week, period. So I transitioned to private accounting, and it was a blind ad. And it was someone that knew how to do general ledger and accounts payables and accounts receivable, payroll, depreciation, and I was like, check, check, check. So I sent my resume, and happened to be Glenmaura National. And the person that hired me was James B. McDonough. He's still till today, he's the treasurer, but he is a former CPA. So when I got there, I worked for Jimmy, and I worked for Mr. Perenni, that he's the person that started Perenni Randolph. And not only, it's just kind of like school continued. At that time, it was great, and again, I had Robert Rossi was great, but then Mr. Perenni and McDonough, they were kind of like computers, like human computers, And I was only 27 when I did the move and became their controller, and they just literally empowered me. Whatever decisions I made, as long as I was able to support them, they just went with it. And then they just always will say to me, I remember I did, many years ago, I did an accounting entry, and Jimmy called me to the office, and it said no, and I explained the reasoning behind it, and it said when the audit comes, then you have to stand behind it. And I did. So, but he allowed me to do that, and it was great. So after being in public accounting, and I was on the other end, so obviously my goal was always not to have a finding. When you have a finding in an audit, it's like you did something wrong. You need the auditors needs to give you an entry. So I was very, very pleased that I never had a finding. So, yeah.
So you went from, what's it like going from did you know about clubs?
No.
Prior to that?
No, it was crazy because like when we started talking, okay, I come from a small island.
Yeah.
Puerto Rico now is just kind of like, I'm 100% an extension of the United States. But when I was growing up, I mean, I didn't see a computer until I was in Marywood University. That's like how, it was crazy. Because, I mean, not only I'm from Puerto Rico, but I'm from the middle of the island. So I'm from the mountains in Puerto Rico. So it was a cultural shock when I came here. And then, so there was this marketing class, and the teacher said that we needed to do a report, and we needed to be in Arial font 10.
Yeah.
No, font 12. And there was me, and I raised my hand, and my question literally was, what's Arial? Because I've been reading the books, and all this stuff. And I'm like, then I had a friend that she was in IT, and she was like, I'll tell you later. So it was a lot, but then it's funny too, because then I obviously said, okay, it's not only English that I need to take extra classes, I need to take extra classes in computers. So Dr. Comstock, which is a member here now, was my professor of computers.
It all comes full circle.
It did. It all came full circle, and I have his two boys here are now in our junior program and everything. And when Dr. Comstock taught me, he was not even married. So he was great, and he was really, really great. So yeah, so it was different, and it was not only that, but in public accounting, I did car dealerships, I knew governmental accounting, but I never ever was at a golf course. So I had a restaurant experience. I'm doing accounting for restaurants, but when it came for the terminology and things like that, it was like the first time they told me like maintenance, when I just said, oh, Jeff from maintenance, I really thought that he was the janitor, not knowing that he was the actual superintendent.
Can you come clean my trash?
And then the saddest part was, and this is a true story, the saddest part was that he said, and then I looked, because I was in accounting, so and we did everything in-house. Like, I did the payroll, I did all taxes and everything in-house. So I'm thinking, like, what is the generous salary, this salary? Because I was so confused. It was very confusing the first year I was in a country club. Then I was like, I better start learning at least the lingo.
Yeah.
So I started from there.
So how long till you finally got your bearings?
I started to develop a very good relationship with all the department heads. Because I understood the numbers, but I didn't understand their departments per se, So when it came to food and beverage, Phil Mahaski, he's amazing. He really, truly, that is his background, and he became my boss. But his background is in food and beverage, and not only that, it was just like the entire service, that he's so great at it. Then when it came to the golf, my first pro was Cliff Coldwater. And still, when I close my eyes and I think of a golf pro, what it should be, should look, should act, should talk, is like Cliff Coldwater. He was not only a great teacher, he was a great merchandiser. He was really, really good. And I learned a lot from him. And when it came to the golf course, which then is funny because he became my husband, it was Jeffrey Koch. And he's really, really knowledgeable. And little by little, he's the one that taught me all the things about the cultural practices on the golf course. So now I'm kind of like, I could be at least textbook, I can be at least an assistant in that area.
Oh, snap.
Yeah,
yeah. Challenge accepted. Who's ever listening, we have a challenge. So you were at Glenmaura for what, about 10 years? 13. And then you went to Scranton. Yeah, and that's a whole other whole other conversation.
It's a total different conversation. Yes.
Yeah, that's a whole other one. But you stayed in the club. Did you intend on staying in the club world at that point? Like, you're about 13 years in, and you're like, okay, I think I'm going to stay at least in the industry.
I think after the number 3 year, I really liked it. At the beginning, it was only until my son was older. Mm-hmm. Then I wanted to go back to public accounting because I love accounting, and that's really like my passion, or was at the time. Then I became, from the controller, then I became the CFO. And the CFO, then you have other responsibilities. You're more into not only doing the books, but also thinking strategically, short-term, long-term plans and things like that. And so with the progression, then Glenmaura is amazing. Then the Country Club of Scranton is bigger. So there was the opportunity to go there, and I started at the CFO at the Country Club of Scranton.
Wait, this Country Club of Scranton is bigger than Glenmaura?
Yeah, so from 18, Glenmaura has 18 holes, Country Club of Scranton has 27. At that time, I had 417 families versus 650. So yeah, it's bigger.
Gotcha. See, I just assumed Glenmaura was bigger than Scranton Country Club.
No.
Wow.
No, yeah, it's not only more holes, but the bigger membership, and it's just the property is bigger.
Yeah.
And the clubhouse, although Glenmaura went to an amazing renovation now and expanded the facility, the Country Club of Scranton, the old farmhouse, so to speak. Yeah, at that time it was bigger. It was just kind of like a progression on that end.
And then from Northeast PA to Ohoopee, Georgia, or not Ohoopee, Georgia, but
Ohoopee Match Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I never heard about that. And I tried doing research prior to like our chatting, and they are so secret. Like I thought maybe like my web browser wasn't loading everything, so I was like trying incognito windows. I went from Chrome to Safari. I'm like, oh, there's something I'm missing here. Are they purposely secretive?
Yes. So I didn't even know about Ohoopee, and I was not looking for a job. It was kind of like fate. Because I get this KKW, which is huge.
Tom, what up, T?
Yeah. Tom was.
Yeah.
So they're huge in our industry, as you know. So one, Michelle Ricklin, which works at KKW, sent me a LinkedIn message. And he was like, we're doing a search for this awesome golf course. If I knew somebody, and I was like, I don't know anybody right now that is looking, but I can give you my resume. And I did, and oh my gosh, it was fate, because I didn't even know. I just did it just because I have, through Greg Boring, which was my GM at the Country Club of Scranton, he's the one that hired me. He had gone to Baldrasa through KKW.
Gotcha.
So then our GM that I got, I was the interim GM there for 6 months, and then Joe Brown came, and Joe Brown came through KKW. So I was already, I knew their process, but I was never part of the process, only on the other end.
Gotcha.
They make the entire staff, when they're bringing someone into your team, very much part of it, because they want to be a good transition, and they're very much about team building and things like that. So I always just wanted to be part of it and to learn.
Yep.
And so I started it, and that was at the end of August, and by September, it took 2 months. I mean, you have to go to a background check, you have to take some tests, some assessments. Like, it's a very, very detailed process that they have. And I think it was 8 candidates that they presented. They narrowed it down to 4. And the first time that I was ever in Georgia was that, because they flew me to Georgia. And then I stayed in Savannah. It's about 100 miles from Savannah. And that was my first time in Georgia. My second time in Georgia was my second interview. I made it to the first round, and it was between me and another person. That second time I had to stay on property, and it's impressive. Ohoopee started, it only opened in 2018. And Michael Walrath is the only owner. He has one owner. Is this billionaire techie that really wanted to build a match club for him to be able to play with his friends. And at that time, it was the only match country club or match golf course in the country. And when you think about it, when you go and play golf, that's why, unless you are like, in the PGA, you do match play. Yeah. So it's 22 holes, and it's designed by Gil Hands, and Gil Hands then became is one of the founding fathers. And they designed this club in the middle of nowhere in Georgia. But it was strategically, it's Coptown, Georgia. But Coptown, Georgia is only 25 minutes from Vidalia.
Okay.
And Vidalia, the Vidalia onion, that's what the town gets the name of. So actually, the entire town pretty much is owned, or the farms are owned by Bill Gates. And the Vidalia onions that they produce and things like that, everything that is owned by Bill Gates go to one of his foundations of feed whomever he's feeding. And so this farm that was for sale through whatever, their friends or whatever, Michael knew about it. He bought it, and he had this idea of building a golf course. So it's 22 holes. We have the championship route, and we have the whiskey route. The only difference is that instead of 4 of the holes, when you do the whiskey route, is A, B, C, D. And then there's a little box, and there inside of the box, there's the whiskey. You have to take a shot of whiskey, and that's the beginning of your round of golf and the whiskey route.
Oh, that's cool.
And it is super cool.
That's fun. That's an experience.
It is.
And can anybody go there and play?
No. By the time I left, only 70 members, and it's by invitation only. And in reality, there are only 15 members, the founding fathers. The other ones, they're called like annual members. So every year you get a letter, and if you get the letter, that is your invitation that's what we call the annual membership, that you can be a member. All the years you have always, again, they're handpicked and selected by the owners, so everybody have always been re-invited, but except for the founding fathers is by invitation. Everyone is by invitation only.
Yeah, that's one of the only things I found if you researched it. It was the website, which has nothing, and then there's like a rate sheet which talks a little bit about it, and then there was like a because they have some rooms you can stay there, right?
Yeah.
So we were talking about it a little bit earlier, but it was because you can pay, it was like $1,400 a night. You get like a room, all your food, you can golf.
Yes.
Which seems pretty fun.
Oh, it is. So first of all, when you go through it, and you have to find it, and you have to follow the onions, because if you look at it, the design is a Vidalia onion, but if you actually look at it, are 3 indigo snakes intertwined making the design. And what you think that is the roots of the onions are the heads of the indigo snakes, and what you think is the top of the onions are the tails. So if you really look at the design.
Oh, snap.
So it's really, really cool.
I like stuff like that.
Yes. So when you find all these little onions, because it's not advertised, then you get to a little shed that is the guard shed, and your name will be there if you're invited. And then it takes you 2 miles from when the guard shed is to get to the clubhouse. And all the terrain is sand-based, so it's a little harsh. So that's, when in the process of you driving those 2 miles, when you look to your right is what we call the savannah. And strategically located, there is big enclosure. You never see the enclosure from the golf course, but we have zebras, wildebeest, and African animals. So when you were actually on your round of golf from the golf course, from 2 holes, you look towards the savannah and you see free-ranging African animals.
What?
Yes, and then you continue to drive, and then you get to the clubhouse, and then the valet service will park your car and we'll take it from there.
Oh, it's so cool. And you were there for 3 years?
3 years, 3.5 years, 3.5 years. 3.5 years. I was there. The main reason what Michael and Pat Worsham, which was the GM that hired me, is because they use the system Jonas, and I've been with Jonas software for a long time, and I reached what they call the super user, so I was able to set up. It was a brand new country club, and by the time I left, it was already 37 in the world and 2nd in the state. Who's the number 1 in the state?
Augusta.
Got it.
So not a bad competitor.
No, it's okay to be number 2.
Yeah.
It was okay to be number 2. Although the year that I left, I have to say that our pro won Merchandiser of the Year above Augusta. So we did get that one from them, but it's okay to be
Take
number
that,
2.
suckers. No.
It was okay. It was okay to be number 2.
So, and then now you're Northeast PA, back.
Yes, and then through, again, full circle again, actually Tom Wallace and Tyler Bloom, they worked together at a club many years ago. And Tyler was looking for, I did the North and the South. My family's still in the North. We had a house in the South. Ohoopee only opened for 9 months out of the year, the 3 hottest months of the year. So from June 15 through September 15, they closed. So I was able to 100% work remotely, come north. But at the beginning, and again, my tenure at Ohoopee was even COVID, which everything obviously changed everything, and to us was we exploded. All the members and their friends, I think especially because the location, they just wanted to be in the middle of nowhere. So they all took refuge into our golf course, which was great, but it hindered the time that I could come home. So except for those 3 months. And Tyler Bloom was looking or was doing a search for a GM. And I think for the last 1.5 or 2 years, I started to do other things because I'm thinking, okay, after Ohoopee, what's my next progression? And my husband was one of the things that you should start thinking about, maybe just running a club. And I'm like, maybe I don't know, within 5 months, it was just another search and another headhunter that reached out to me, and I started the process, and I got back to Northeast.
Now here we are.
And here we are again, another full circle.
I know, at a club 1.5 miles from my house. This is amazing.
I know, it's funny, and it's like, what, 3 miles from my prior club?
Yeah.
The one thing I have to say, I do miss Ohoopee, obviously, it was beautiful, but I drove 1 hour and 10 minutes one way, 1 hour and 10 minutes, because Cuptown, Georgia is in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing else to do except if you're gonna visit the golf course. So all the managers, we lived in Savannah, and that's how far it took us to go to work every day. So now it's 3 minutes.
And was that with most of the employees also around there? Did it take
It was maybe mid-managers and all the department heads we live for. That was another challenge of staffing the golf course, because again, like my housekeeping staff, my road maintenance staff, my green staff, they were kind of local, but maybe because, actually I don't know why, because I was surprised, but there's a big Hispanic population in that area. So that was another good thing, because Spanish is my first language, so they spoke 0 English. So I was able to translate for everybody, but when it came to the maintenance staff, the housekeeping staff, they were all local. Again, the majority, they were Hispanics. Mid-level, they all travel.
I want to bring it back to Glen Oak now, which is funny because there's like 5 other Glen Oaks in the country.
There's actually another Glen Oak Country Club, and it's so confusing. Yes, there's other Glen, but there's another one exactly with our same name.
Wisconsin.
Yes, it's so confusing.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. I was chatting with Concert Golf So that's a owner operator course owned by Concert Golf Partners, who's a show partner for this private club radio here. Shout out Concert Golf Partners. But they're a Glen Oak also, and their director of agronomy won Agronomist of the Year. So we were chatting. He's like, we get mail Like, you're like, they think it's the wrong Glen Oaks.
Yes. We get that all the time too. And they have their logo is totally different. So yes, it's
I think
a
there's
little confusing.
one or two others also,
Yes.
which is even funnier. But so you stepped into a unique position, and I just only know from being in the industry. It's like my home club.
Sure.
Performed. You know, I've done stuff here, and I have friends and family and clients who are members. You stepped into a position that's very difficult. What was it like going into a club that had a general manager who's been there for so long, and not only taking over and being a new face, but also being a very strong female lead with an accent? Like, that's just, to me, in Northeast, this is a small town.
It is a
like
very
this is
small town.
like, for people who don't know, Scranton is like, I don't want to say hickish a bit. I mean, I went to the Griffin Pond Animal Shelter. They had a Guns N' Roses bingo, where you either won a purse or a gun. Like, it was, I don't know anywhere else really where you would have, but it's a little bit behind in things, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, they always said that everything comes to Scranton 20 years later.
Yeah. So what's that been like? There had to be struggles. There had to be.
No, absolutely. There were struggles, and like you said, I replaced an older manager that was a manager at the club for 14 years, and prior to that, it was a long-term manager. So I think it was kind of like when you have a divorce. And then people took sides, but I knew that going into it. And I knew also that the club was looking to have new ideas, to elevate the service, to be a little bit different, to shake things up, so to speak. I think Jimmy McDonough, my old boss, called me, and he said, "Nardimar, do not take things personal."
Click.
Yeah, and I mean, and he knows, because at the beginning, I do what I do because I love what I do, and I take things personal because I put my entire self into what I do. But that is something that I definitely needed to learn, and once again, I've been very fortunate of the people that I do have by my side. Since the get-go, the board of directors, especially the executive committee here, I have had their unwavering support. And they put so much faith in me that it made it possible. And even through the hurdles, because there were hurdles and not everything was smooth, I had their support. And that is a total game changer. Because we went into it together, and they were very, very clear and very, very transparent through the interview process. And to be honest with you, I'm used to it. I'm in the golf industry, and as it is, it's a male-dominated industry. We know that. Less than 5% or I think it's 3% of the general managers are female. So I had that against me. And I'm a Latin.
Yeah.
So I'm a female, Latin, and now coming into the Northeast Pennsylvania. So yeah, it definitely was a...
Like, managing a club, it's just old white men. Like, it had to be a struggle. But then, as soon as, because I had this question in my head, and as soon as we started, I knew the answer to that question is, from like your very first position, I
have always been surrounded by men.
Well, that, but also you worked, like, that was your, like, you said, like, what, you cried your way through like your first week or whatever, but
yes, and then that's it. And I went to home, and then even my first board of directors at Glenmaura, one of the very prominent members made a very rude comment alluding the fact that I was a woman and that my English. That was the first thing in a board of directors.
The very first, my first. Nice to meet you. Then bang.
Yeah. and
Jesus.
it was horrible. And I just, whatever. And I remember me going to the bathroom, crying, wiping my face, putting makeup back on, and going out. And I think that comes from my mother. My mother is very, very smart, and she always, when I was, here and I started studying, and it was like kind of my last year in college, and things got a little tough. My mom told me, you are, when you're swimming at the beach, you get those. Like the division, there's the divider. I don't know how to say that in English, but you know what I'm talking about. So we call him like La Boya. And my mom said, you are there already. You just it's a little sprint. You just have to, you cannot let yourself sunk right now.
Yeah.
And it was like that. And when it comes to it's our all white man club, like you said, like that's, Northeast PA. My club in Georgia, they were all guys. I was the only female. Even all members are guys. They're not female members. So I have always been surrounded, and by those my partners at my first job. They were all males. And I go to board of directors in Scranton, 20 males. And then I have always been like that. So the good thing is I'm a girl, but that.
You've built your armor. It's I feel like every place is knocked you a certain way. That's built it back up.
Yeah.
You got that muscle a little bit more bulletproof. So at each step, you're just I've been there before.
Yeah.
Oh, I've heard worse comments.
Yeah. I was one here, something, whatever. Someone said something, and I know one of my board directors said, "Oh, she's tough." I'm like, yeah.
What? How do I phrase this? How, as the leader of this ship, if the leader of the club, a member says something rude, what's protocol? What's protocol for that? That's crazy.
It is crazy, but you have to understand there are people too.
Right.
And one of the things that I don't think things personal, because you don't know what is anybody's plate, except there's the saying, nobody knows what's in the pot except the one stirring it. So I just think that you give what you have. If you ask me for $100 and I only have 20, I cannot give you $100. So sometimes they just give exactly what they have, and if they don't have goodness for whatever personal experiences that are happening in their lives, they're not going to be able to do it. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're all people, and what I tell my team is starting from a dishwasher or from my girl that cleans and she's amazing, all the way to me that I'm the general manager. It's just like an organism. We're all important, and I mean, my chefs will not be able to put the food out without having those dishwashers. Cleaning and doing the dishes and pots for them, and I will not be able to do what I do or to serve my members without any single one of them. So when it comes to the members, I always tell my staff, if they're rude, just walk away and call me. I'd rather me put in the face on. I just don't want them
How do you handle that? What do you I would assume every club's probably different in how
every
they handle
club is different.
What's your method for handling situations?
I loved when I was at Ohoopee, there was only one rule: don't be an asshole. And the second one, don't forget the first rule. That's the only. And the members were so amazing, and that's what I think. I mean, Michael had done a great job handpicking those members, because we did have a naughty list. But people that they're not allowed to be back at the club, and you get into this black book, we call it.
And sorry to go back, for the club, did you say that every year your membership has to be
reinvited?
So if you violated the first rule and second rule, you're not
invited. Exactly. So, and they have always been invited back. And the people that are in this black book are people that are on a company guest. So
it never tends to be the members, it tends to be more of the guests.
Yeah, and then, yes, because if I'm the member, if you come with me, then you will, behave according to you coming with me. There's certain people that when the member or for whatever reason, they just didn't. And that there at Ohoopee, Michael did put a lot of emphasis that the employees are the biggest asset of any company. So to me, the employees are the biggest asset of Glen Oak. And in that, it was very, very, I hear it's different because it's not that, okay, you're not going to be a member anymore. Yeah. At least the majority of the members here are amazing. They really are. I mean, that 95% of them are great, and you're always going to have that 5% that they're going to complain, but that's in every single place that you go to, and it's okay.
How do you keep your team, you and your team motivated?
My team has,
it's a two-part question. How do you keep yourself? So we'll start with yourself. How do you keep yourself motivated and continuing on even despite those hard times? And then how do you also pass that on to your team?
So first of all, I don't do this because it's my job. I don't do it for a paycheck. I do it because I really love the industry. I think it's amazing, and I think it's very rewarding. So when you do something that you love, you like coming to work every day. And I want my team to want to come to work every day. If they look at it as a job, I mean, that's what those old models of governing by fear, it doesn't work. It works for a little bit and then just, gets worn out. So I want whoever wants to be part of my team, I want them to want to be here. But I also know that it's not for everyone. So meaning that when I came in, it was a big transitioning, period for the club. So my first 60 days, all I did was observe. And when I start executing or changing things, it was very clear. I said, this is the way that things are going to be handled from now on. And then it was a choice. It's like, if you guys want to abide to it, that's great, and we're going to work together. If not, then that's okay. I will wish you well, and I will want someone that wants to be part of it. I will never ask any of my staff to do something I'm not willing myself to do, from bossing a table to running whatever. Because if we're busy, I'm the one cleaning after them. But if I'm not beneath any of it, then again, I know that I will never ask anyone anything unreasonable, because that's just we're not that type of people. Yeah. I think that I'm building a great team. I mean, I have a brand new director of the clubhouse, and he's amazing. I love working with my chef. My chef has been here for 12 years, but Pat is really, really good. I'm very excited. We have a brand new golf pro.
Nice, congrats.
Kyle Fares, he comes from Bitterman, a very, very good club, and he is just young and full of excitement and new ideas. And one of my old bosses, Joe Brown, always said, Nardi, just surround yourself with talent and let them do what they do best. So I'm just doing that. I'm just surrounding myself with these awesome people and let them do what they do best, and that's what we're doing.
Looking back to your 20-year-old self, you're at Marywood, or you're starting your career, what would you tell yourself?
Now or back then?
Yourself now, what would you tell your earlier self?
Not to worry. I was such a worrier. Everything. I think I worried to death for more than 50%, half my life. I said, not to worry. Everything will work out. Not to worry. I think, and you know what? It's funny that you said that, because, what we've been talking about, Puerto Rico is part of the United States. But there is this mentality that because we were not, I'm a U.S. citizen because there's no such a thing as Puerto Rican citizen. Now I live in the main island, or the mainland. Like you said, the mainland, I'm able to vote. If I'm in Puerto Rico, I'm not able to vote. So unfortunately, in my culture, in my island, there is this mentality that we are one step above all the other Latin American countries because they're not part of Puerto Rico, United States, and we're Puerto Rico. but then we're below United States because we're not United States. So it's just kind of in between limbo type of thing. And I think that gets ingrained within you. We have our biggest castle in the island is El Morro. And I always thought that the stork left me in the wrong place, that I did not belong there. And because all the people in the island, they don't see beyond that, you know, beyond the castle, beyond El Morro, there's like just water. Which to me was like, I wanted to come here, but I wanted to come here to learn English. I wanted to come here to have a great job. I wanted to come here to do all these great things. So when I start coming here, everybody, and maybe there's a lot of negative, I don't know, stereotypes. And it was like, no, not everybody comes here just to be in welfare. Or nobody comes here just to have work at a factory. That was not me. But yeah, so that was like kind of like the mentality back then. And I always, my 20-year self was always worried that I was never going to be able to break through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you have the same answer for, let's just say, a young, hungry female looking to get into the industry, or somebody younger, you know, getting into the industry? What are your thoughts?
To go for it. I mean, I remember like this, I mean, a lot of people are going to tell you you're not going to make it. Or it's just to go for it and not to take things personal. Because, I mean, like that first board of directors, like I was questioned whether I knew accounting and whether people were going to be able to understand me. That was the question he said in front of everybody.
Do you really know accounting?
Yeah. So, yes. So that was, I have been in my other country club, in the country club of Scranton. I was the CFO, and a member of the board came and told me, we did a protocol because of ARs, and the ARs were getting, you know, how we're going to do the collections and things like that. And I wrote it all down, you know, I just wrote all the protocols and the steps that we're going to take. And I got someone coming into my office and saying that when he came back to talk to the members or calling the members back, not to do it myself because, you know, they might be able to understand you. So it has been like, I can tell you like dozens of, or, you know, a member saying to me, a female member, that, you know, I don't like you because you're pretty and the guys might look at you. It's just kind of like, I think I have heard it all.
Wow.
And it's just kind of like, yeah, you take it with a grain of salt.
Thick skin.
Thick skin, yeah.
Yeah.
Thick skin. But again, I love it. And those are the minority things. There's so many other good things, and you have these members that they become part of your extended family. And when things don't go, you know, we all gonna go through those highs and lows in life, and they come shoulder to shoulder with you. Like you said, oh my gosh, like you never realized that how special or what they thought of you, or you get to celebrate all their kids' special events. And I just did a Taylor Swift party, which was amazing, and they were so stinking cute. They really, I had a performer that she impersonated Taylor Swift, and the little girls, everybody thought she was Taylor Swift. They screamed like they were at the party, and so you get all the good stuff too. You know what I mean? So it's a balance.
When you love what you do, it makes the highs higher and the lows not as bad.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, it's like my husband, he's in the industry too, and he loves what he does. And he actually does a lot of things in-house that he should not be doing, but he knows it, you know, his father is a carpenter. And he's the one that taught me that, because I'm like, at the beginning I was like, why are you doing that? That's not your job. That's not your job. And I'm like, I don't do it for them. I do it for me. And it was awesome. I'm like, when you do something because like, I love the club to look nice. I just look at, because I spend a lot of time here, and I want all my members to think this is the extension of their house. So their house is beautiful. So I want them to come to a beautiful, clean club. And that actually was the first thing that they noticed. When I started working here, we didn't have a cleaning lady. We had a cleaning company that came 1.5 hours, 6 days a week. There's an impossibility of cleaning.
The entire club?
The entire club.
An hour and a half?
Yeah, 6 days a week, not even 7. And it was crazy. And my first thing that I hired, my first hire was cleaning lady, and then a person to help her. And just by that, it was such a big response, a positive response, because it's like, oh my gosh, this place is clean. It's amazing. It smells good.
I forget who it was. I was chatting with some manager, and that was like one of his things is going in, and he goes, first thing, like first week, first day, any lights that are out, he goes, even if I have to grab the ladder and fix, I just put, he goes, because people don't like change. Change is awkward. So to have a new GM come in, and all of a sudden people have like, sometimes they're like defenses up, but if you come in now and all of a sudden like, oh, new GM, and oh, it's brighter in here. Like you just these little things like, oh, I didn't know the place can smell clean, or like.
Yes, it was like that. Or, that was the second, because the first one was when I came for my interview, the flag was fray. And I'm thinking, that's our flag, when you go to a country club. So my first week, that was the one and only thing that I changed in 60 days was the flag. And then within 45 days, I have hired somebody to clean in-house. And then I hire a second person.
That's
Yeah, and that was the only 60 days, or the only 2 things that I changed. I just have to observe, because this is my 4th club. Every single club has a different culture.
Yep.
And I love and I respect so much the history of this club. I don't know if you know that we're a Jewish club. We started as a Jewish club.
Yep.
And the reason what the founding fathers here, we actually don't own the club. We don't own the land. These families got together and put money together and bought this land and made this golf course so Jewish people would be able to be at a country club, because they were not allowed to be in the other country clubs in the area. And one
of which you worked
And when you think about that, it's just kind of, like it's funny that I work now, that I've been struggling at times to even, where do I fit in? And the reason why Glen Oak came to be is because they didn't fit in anywhere. So to be in perpetuity, these founding members created a company, or created this organization, and has shares, and then their sons and daughters and grandkids have these shares now. So Wave Oak is actually the owner of the property, and Glen Oak Country Club, we lease from them. So in the bylaws, we will never be able to sell the land. I cannot even cut a tree on property without asking permission to Wave Oak, because they're the actual owners of the land. And no matter what happened, even though now is 75% of our members are Gentiles, the Jewish community will always have a place to belong. So I love that. It doesn't get any better.
Yo, that was a perfect ending. Oh my God, that was so good. That was so good. No, I don't even know how to go past that. That was good. That was real good. This was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, this was really good. I didn't even have to really look at my iPad. That was awesome. No, that was good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hope you all enjoyed that episode. If you enjoyed the episode, you know what I'd like for you to do. Please share, subscribe, give a review to the page, share the episode with a friend. Anything you can do to help move our station forward means the world. You can also sign up for our newsletter, where we send you all the episodes that we release weekly in one nice email. Head on over to privateclubradio.com. Sign up for the newsletter right on top. Until next time, catch you on the flippity flip.